Imagine Los Angeles, 1969. The 60s are electric. Hippies chanting peace, guitars wailing, Vietnam's shadow tearing the nation apart. Into this swirl steps Charles Manson, a wiry ex-con with a grin that hides venom and a voice that could charm the stars. He's no mere drifter. He's a puppet master, collecting broken souls into his family, a ragged cult of runaways holed up at Spawn Ranch, a decaying movie set in the hills. August 8th and 9th, 1969. Those dates burn in memory. Manson unleashes his disciples, young women like Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, men like Tex Watson, on a killing rampage. 7 lives erased, among them Sharon Tate, a pregnant actress whose light was snuffed out in a frenzy of blades. The murders jolt a nation already battered by riots and war. But it's the why that keeps us up at night. Was it a lunatic's dream of a race war, as the official story goes? Or something uglier? Drugs, revenge, secrets nobody wants to touch. We're digging deep, peeling back the polished narrative to find the cracks. The story sold to the world, called Helter Skelter, a supposed apocalyptic vision, feels too neat, too tidy for the mess of Manson's world. What if it wasn't about a grand plot, but a petty grudge against Hollywood's elite? What if debts, drugs, or darker forces pulled the strings? The questions aren't new. Whispers of parole oddities, botched police raids, and shadowy connections have swirled for decades, but they refuse to fade. Why did these murders grip us when others slip away? How did Manson turn kids into killers? Was he a lone madman or something else? A tool, a spark in a bigger fire? This wasn't random. It was a deliberate plunge into chaos, and the 60s built the stage. Free love, shattered dreams, a city drunk on hope and dope. Perfect for a predator like Manson. Let's tear it open. The man, the murders, the theories, the world that let it happen, and the cost it left behind. Now we step into the abyss. The crimes that turned the summer of 1969 into a blood-soaked wound America can't forget. This isn't a quick tally of bodies. It's a horror that crawls through every deliberate step of the Manson family's descent into slaughter. A rampage that shattered Los Angeles and stained a generation. These weren't random acts of madness. They were calculated, driven by a tangled web of grudges, drugs, and a twisted will to destroy. The story we've been sold, a race war called Helter Skelter, feels too polished, too neat for the raw chaos of Manson's world. What if it was about revenge, bad deals, or something murkier? Let's walk through July and August 1969, night by night, to see the terror unfold, a nightmare born of cold intent that still chills us today. The prelude hits in late July, a spark nobody saw coming. Picture Topanga Canyon, a hippie haven where Gary Hinman lives, a music teacher, soft-spoken, scraping by with small-time drug deals. Hinman's no stranger to the family. He's jammed with Manson, maybe sold them dope, but he's crossed a line. The details blur, but it's about mescaline. Hinman supposedly peddled bad stuff to bikers tied to Spawn Ranch, leaving Manson's crew in the crosshairs. It's not grand ideology, just a street-level screw-up, a debt-demanding blood. July 25th, Manson sends Bobby Beausoleil, a family guitarist with a dark streak, to Hinman's modest home. Susan Atkins and Mary Bruner tag along, not for backup but to tighten the screws. This isn't a friendly drop-in, it's a shakedown. Manson's orders ringing clear. Get the money or make him pay. Hinman's place is cozy, guitars on the walls, a Buddhist shrine, but the mood turns ugly fast. Beausoleil demands cash. Rumors say $1,000, maybe more. Hinman swears he's broke, his voice trembling. Manson's shadow looms. July 26th, he storms in, a sword in hand, no patience left. He slashes Hinman's ear, A warning cut that sprays blood and sets the tone. Pay or die. Manson bolts, leaving Beausoleil to clean up. For 2 days, Hinman's a prisoner in his own home. Tied up, beaten, pleading through a stitched-up ear. He's no fighter, just a guy caught in Manson's orbit, his kindness no shield. Beausoleil's unraveling, strung out, cornered, Manson's voice in his head. Handle it. July 27th, it breaks. Beausoleil grabs a knife, stabs Hinman twice in the chest. A slow, deliberate kill. Hinman chokes, gurgles, gone. Atkins and Bruner stand by, complicit, as the life drains out. Before they split, they dip into Hinman's blood, smearing political piggy on the wall with a paw print. A fake nod to Black Panthers, meant to mislead. It's not a manifesto, just panic, a sloppy cover for a drug-fueled hit. Beausoleil drives off in Hinman's Fiat, cocky enough to keep it. August 6th, he's nabbed in San Luis Obispo, blood on his clothes, Hinman's car a dead giveaway. He stays quiet, but the family feels the heat. Manson's orders drew blood, and he's already planning more. This wasn't a cosmic scheme, it was personal, a test of loyalty that cracked the door to hell. The question lingers, why let it escalate? Was Manson settling scores or warming up for something bigger? August 8th, 1969, 150. Cielo Drive, a Benedict Canyon mansion perched above LA's glitter. Sharon Tate lives here, a 26-year-old actress glowing with promise, 8 months pregnant with Roman Polanski's son. She's a star. Valley of the Dolls, the fearless vampire killers. But tonight, she's just a woman hosting friends. Jay Sebring, 35, a hairstylist to the stars with a suave edge. Abigail Folger, 25, a Folger coffee heiress turned activist. Wojciech Frykowski, 32, Folger's lover, a Polish writer chasing Hollywood dreams. Polanski's in London, filming. The house is a haven. White carpets, a pool shimmering under stars, laughter spilling out. But Manson's got a different script. He sends 4 killers. Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, Linda Kasabian, with one command. Destroy everything. Why Cielo? The official line, Bugliosi's Helter Skelter, says it's random. A strike to ignite a race war by framing black militants. But cracks show. Manson knew the place. Terry Melcher, the producer who'd snubbed his music, leased it before Tate moved in. Manson visited, got turned away. Was it revenge? A jab at Hollywood's elite? Or drugs? A deal gone bad, like Hinman's. The family's world was soaked in speed, acid, debts piling up. Whatever the trigger, Manson's order is iron. Kill them all, make it ugly. Past midnight, the killers move. The canyon's dark, quiet, LA's hum distant. Their Ford Falcon crawls up Cielo's drive. Watson cuts the phone lines, a calculated step. He climbs the gate, spots a car. Stephen Parent, 18, a kid leaving after selling a radio to the groundskeeper. Parent's no threat, but Watson's wired. 4 shots from a .22 revolver tear through Parent's chest, his Rambler stalling in the dirt. First blood, a life erased in seconds. The killers slip inside. Kasabian stays back, a reluctant lookout, her stomach churning. Watson, Atkins, Krenwinkel, they're all in, knives out, Manson's mantra looping. Do the devil's work. The house is calm. Frykowski dozes on the couch. Folger reads in bed. Tate and Sebring chat by the fireplace. The door's open. LA's still careless. Watson bursts in, gun raised, shouting orders. Frykowski wakes, confused. "Who are you?" Watson's reply is ice. "I'm the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business." It's not a heist, it's annihilation. Frykowski fights. Tied with a towel, he breaks free, stumbles to the lawn. Watson's relentless. 2 bullets, 51 stab wounds, a gun butt to the skull. Frykowski's down. A shredded mess, still crawling till he stops. Folger bolts. Barefoot, nightgown flapping. She sprints for the yard. Krenwinkel catches her, tackles her to the grass. 28 stabs. Folger's pleas drowned in blood. Sebring lunges for Tate. Watson shoots him in the gut, then knifes him 7 times, leaving him crumpled by the hearth. Tate's last. Tied to Sebring's body, she begs for her baby's life. Atkins sneers. "Look, bitch, I got no mercy." 16 stabs. Tate screams, fading. The scene's a slaughterhouse. Blood soaks rugs, smears walls, a tableau of horror. Atkins grabs a towel, dips it in Tate's blood, writes pig on the door, a sick echo of Hinman's scene. They flee, Kasabian retching. She's done, her loyalty snapping. 5 dead. Parent, Tate, Sebring, Folger, Frykowski, in under an hour. A deliberate massacre that breaks LA's heart. August 9th. No rest, no regret. Manson's hunger grows, his control absolute. He picks another target, 3301 Waverly Drive, Los Feliz, home to Leno LaBianca, 44, a supermarket owner, and Rosemary, 38, a dressmaker. No fame, no fortune, just a random couple, asleep in their modest bungalow. Why them? The official story says Manson drove aimlessly, seeking chaos to fan his race war fantasy. But whispers point elsewhere. Manson knew the area, had partied nearby. Was it convenience, a soft target after Cielo's splash, or another grudge, drugs tying loose ends? This time, Manson's hands-on. He leads Watson, Krenwinkel, Leslie Van Houten, Atkins, and 2 others, Steve Grogan and Clem Tufts. Kasabian's there too, unraveling but trapped. It's late. Waverly's quiet, a working-class street far from Cielo's glitz. Manson creeps in first, gun drawn, waking the LaBiancas. Leno's on the couch, Rosemary in bed. They're confused, compliant. Manson ties them up, calm as death, then leaves. Watson's in charge now. Leno's bound, a pillowcase over his head. Watson stabs him with a bayonet, 12 times, carving war into his stomach. Rosemary hears it, fights back. Krenwinkel knifes her. Van Houten joins in, 41 wounds total, a frantic pile-on. The walls get their message. Death to pigs in blood. Rise elsewhere. Helter Skelter, misspelled on the fridge. It's no manifesto. Just a taunt, a middle finger to the world. Manson's back at spawn. Alibi set, while his killers scatter. The aftermath's sloppy. Cops fumble, linking nothing at first. August 10th. Spawn Ranch is raided. Not for murder, but car theft. The family's hauled in. Manson, Watson, the women. But released on a technicality. Back to their desert hole. Leno's son finds him. Police baffled. Tate's scene leaks. Headlines screaming. Fear grips LA. Locks sell out. Guards hired. Atkins brags in jail, spilling to cellmates. But Manson stays free till December, when her words catch up. The killers, Watson, Atkins, Krenwinkel, Van Houten, face trial, Kasabian turning state's witness. It's deliberate. Manson didn't stab, but his will drove every cut. Was it helter skelter, drugs, or revenge? The truth stays murky, a secret locked in blood. We've walked through the blood and horror. Now it's time to face the puzzle that keeps the Manson murders alive, a mystery that refuses to settle. This isn't a quick wrap-up, it's an odyssey into the theories, the competing truths, the shadows that dance around what happened in the summer of '69. The story we've been fed for decades, Vincent Bugliosi's Helter Skelter, a tale of a madman's apocalyptic race war, has ruled the narrative, but it's fraying at the edges, too neat for the jagged chaos of Manson's world. What if it wasn't a grand delusion, but a gritty mix of drugs, revenge, and petty grudges? What if there's more? Shadowy figures, government ties, a web too tangled to unravel. The questions aren't just speculation. They're a mirror to the '60s, to ourselves, and to the secrets we still chase. Let's dive deep, sifting through the official line, the cracks in it, and the wilder threads that keep this case burning, all while asking, what was the deliberate truth behind the Manson murders? Let's start with the story that defined it all. Helter Skelter, the narrative cemented by Vincent Bugliosi, the deputy DA who prosecuted Manson and his family in 1970. Bugliosi's 1974 book, Helter Skelter, the true story of the Manson murders, sold over 7 million copies, making it the best-selling true crime book in history. His pitch is cinematic. Charles Manson, a deranged ex-con obsessed with the Beatles' White Album, believed it foretold a race war, blacks rising against whites in a fiery apocalypse he called Helter Skelter, after the band's chaotic track. Manson's plan, Bugliosi claimed, was to spark this war by murdering wealthy whites, Sharon Tate, the LaBiancas, and framing black radicals, like the Black Panthers, for the carnage. The family would hide in a Death Valley bunker, wait out the chaos, and emerge to rule the ruins, with Manson as their messiah. It's a story of madness, control, and brainwashing. Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, Tex Watson, Leslie Van Houten, all turned into killers by Manson's acid-soaked sermons and apocalyptic rants. Bugliosi built his case on trial testimony. Linda Kasabian, the getaway driver turned star witness, swore Manson preached Helter Skelter relentlessly, tying the murders to songs like Piggies and Revolution 9. Susan Atkins, spilling to cellmates, backed it up, describing Manson's vision of a world flipped upside down. The prosecution leaned hard on physical evidence, blood scrawls like pig and death to pigs, supposedly meant to mimic Panther rhetoric, and Manson's own words, cryptic but damning. Now is the time for Helter Skelter, he allegedly told his followers before the Tate killings. The jury bought it. Manson, Watson, Atkins, Krenwinkel, and Van Houten were convicted in 1971, sentenced to death, later commuted to life when California banned the death penalty in '72. Bugliosi's book sealed it, a tidy package that explained the inexplicable. A cult leader's insanity turned hippies into monsters, end of story. But here's where it starts to crack. Bugliosi's narrative, while gripping, feels too polished, too perfect for a story born in Spawn Ranch's drug-addled dust. The '60s were messy. Vietnam protests, civil rights battles, a counterculture drowning in LSD and broken dreams. Manson's world wasn't a philosopher's lair. It was a grubby commune of runaways, bikers, and dealers, scraping by on theft and dope. Why would a petty con like Manson dream so big? The race war angle hinges on a few witnesses. Kasabian, who flipped to save herself. Atkins, whose jailhouse boasts shifted with every telling. Other family members like Bobby Beausoleil, who killed Gary Hinman, call it nonsense. Beausoleil, still in prison, has said it plain. There was no Helter Skelter. It was about drugs, about surviving in a bad scene. No grand apocalypse, just a fight to keep the family's fragile empire afloat. Let's unpack that. Drugs as the real driver. Spawn Ranch wasn't a utopia. It was a hub for speed, LSD, and marijuana, with Manson's crew tangled in LA's underbelly. The Hinman murder, July 25, 27, 1969, sets the tone. Not a cosmic spark, but a botched deal. Hinman, a music teacher, sold bad mescaline to bikers, maybe the straight Satans, a rough crew who hung at Spawn. Manson's family took the heat. Dealers don't forgive bad dope, and Hinman paid with his life. Beausoleil's knife, Manson's sword slash to Hinman's ear. It's personal, not ideological. The political piggy scrawl wasn't a manifesto. It was a clumsy dodge, a fake Panther clue to throw off cops. Fast forward to August 8th, Tate's house at 150 Cielo Drive. Bugliosi said it was random, a rich target to inflame racial tensions. But Manson knew the place. Terry Melcher, the producer who'd rejected his music, lived there before Tate. Manson visited, got the brush off, his ego bruised. Was Cielo revenge, a middle finger to Hollywood's gatekeepers? Beausoleil's take. Manson was mad at that crowd. Melcher, Wilson, the whole scene. The LaBianca murders, August 9th, fit this better than Helter Skelter. Leno and Rosemary LaBianca weren't elites. Just a grocer and his wife, living near a house Manson had partied at. No race war logic here. Why a random couple? Drug debts make more sense. Rosemary dealt in small-time dope, per some accounts, and Manson's crew swam in bad deals. The blood writings, death to pigs, rise, a misspelled Helter Skelter, look less like a master plan and more like a panicked riff on Hinman's scene, a desperate bid to link the crimes and muddy the trail. Manson's orders were clear. Watson testified Manson wanted something witchy, but the why feels grounded, not cosmic. Drugs fueled the family's chaos. Speed kept them wired. LSD blurred their edges. Manson's control wasn't a cult seminar. It was a dealer's grip, doling out highs to keep his flock loyal. But the drug angle only goes so far. It doesn't explain the frenzy, the devotion that turned kids into butchers. That's where revenge kicks in, a motive Bugliosi downplayed, but fits Manson's petty, vindictive streak. Manson wasn't just a failed musician. He was a man obsessed with fame, rubbing shoulders with Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys, pitching songs to Melcher, even recording a session that went nowhere. Wilson introduced him to Melcher, who heard Manson's tapes and passed. Too raw, too strange. Manson didn't forget. Cielo Drive was Melcher's old address. Manson had been there, faced rejection in the flesh. When he sent Watson, Atkins, Krenwinkel, and Kasabian, was he striking at Tate, a symbol of Hollywood's shine, or aiming for Melcher's ghost? The brutality, 51 stabs for Frykowski, 16 for Tate, feels personal, a message to a world that shut him out. The LaBiancas, less glamorous, might have been a follow-up, a way to keep the terror rolling, to prove Manson's power after Hollywood's slight. Yet revenge alone feels thin. Why escalate from Hinman's death to a spree? This is where the cracks widen and darker threads creep in. Not wild conspiracies, but oddities that don't add up. Take Manson's parole. Released in '67, a career felon with a rap sheet from robbery to rape, he's barely monitored. His parole officer, Roger Smith, let him roam LA, crashing with hippies, building a cult. Normal for a lowlife like Manson? Or was he useful? Maybe an informant, feeding cops dirt on bikers or dealers. The family's raided August 10th, not for murder, but car theft, and released on a technicality, back to Spawn Ranch like nothing happened. Cops ignored obvious leads, Hinman's blood scrawl, Spawn's arsenal, until Atkins's jailhouse confession in December. Was someone looking the other way, protecting Manson for reasons we'll never know? Then there's the wildest thread, government ties, a shadow cast by the 60s paranoia, the CIA's MK-Ultra program, active from 53 to 73, tested LSD and mind control on prisoners, soldiers, even unwitting civilians. Manson, jailed through the 60s, could have crossed its path. LSD was no stranger to federal pens. Was he dosed, primed to disrupt the counterculture? The idea's not new. LA's hippie scene was crawling with feds, infiltrating communes, busting radicals. Manson's Haight-Ashbury days, his ties to figures like Dennis Wilson, put him in a web where spies and dealers mingled. Some point to a psychiatrist who studied cults and crossed Manson's orbit, linked to MK-Ultra, and even Jack Ruby, Oswald's killer. It's a stretch, no hard proof ties Manson to a lab, but the 60s were a petri dish for such schemes. The FBI's COINTELPRO targeted Black Panthers, yippies, anyone who rocked the boat. Could Manson, a chaos agent, have been a tool to smear the hippies? This theory falters. Too many leaps, too little paper trail. Manson's chaos feels homegrown, not scripted. But the questions nag. Why so free, so unchecked? Bugliosi's story sidesteps these. His book, a bestseller, needed a villain, not a mess. Helter Skelter gave jurors a clear bad guy. Manson as Satan, not a hustler with grudges. The race war angle fit the times. 68 saw MLK and RFK gunned down, cities burning. A white cult framing blacks? It sold fear, closed the case. But it ignores the family's reality. Drugs, debts, a leader more spiteful than visionary. Other theories bubble up. Mob ties, maybe, given LA's underworld. Or a biker feud, since Spawn was a hangout for gangs like the Straight Satans. None stick like drugs and revenge. They're grounded, human, messy. Manson wasn't a genius. He was a con, exploiting the 60s cracks. The murders grip us because they're a mirror. Cults, control, the edge where freedom turns feral. Why do we care? Because Manson's spell, his deliberate chaos, shows what happens when hope curdles. Was it a master plan, a bad trip, or a secret we'll never crack? The truth's out there, buried in the ashes of 69. Welcome to the heart of the beast, folks. The puppet master himself, Charles Manson. This isn't a quick sketch of a crazed hippie gone rogue. This is a plunge into the mind of a man who turned lost kids into killers with nothing more than a grin, a guitar, and a twisted will. We're not here to gawk at a monster. We're here to dissect a manipulator, a deliberate architect of chaos who didn't stumble into infamy, but built it, step by calculated step. How did he do it? What made him tick? How did a pint-sized ex-con bend souls until they snapped? Let's rip it open. Manson's early life, his seduction of the broken, the drugs, the music dreams, the control, and the cold intent that led to a blood-soaked summer. Buckle up, because this is Secrets Unleashed, and we're not holding back. Charles Manson didn't pop out of nowhere in 1967 with a cult in tow. He was forged in the crucible of a fractured life. Born November 12, 1934 in Cincinnati, Ohio, to Kathleen Maddox, a 16-year-old runaway with a taste for booze and trouble, Manson's start was a mess. No father, just a string of men who drifted through Kathleen's life, one leaving the name Manson from a brief marriage to William Manson, a laborer who wasn't even the kid's real dad. Kathleen was a petty thief, a drinker, unreliable as a gust of wind. By age 5, Charlie's dumped with relatives or shuffled into foster homes. His mom once tried to pawn him off for a pitcher of beer. That's the soil he grew in. Rejection, instability, a world that didn't give a damn. School? Forget it. He's truant, stealing candy and bikes by 9. At 13, he's shipped to the Jabot School for boys in Indiana, a Catholic reform joint, where he learns quick that charm gets you further than fists. He escapes, gets caught, rinse, repeat. Next stop, Boys Town in Nebraska. That famous, "He ain't heavy, he's my brother," haven. Sounds sweet, right? He bolts in days, stealing a car with another kid, racking up burglaries. By 14, he's at the Indiana Boys School. Think beatings, isolation, a crash course in surviving hell. He escapes again, 18 times they say, each breakout sharpening his knack for slipping systems. Rape allegations from peers surface. Brutal stuff. But he's a chameleon, dodging the worst of it with a smile and a lie. Prison becomes home through his teens and 20s. Petty theft, carjacking, pimping. He's in and out. Utah, California. Federal joints like McNeil Island. By 1956, he's nabbed for violating the Dyer Act, stealing cars across state lines, and does hard time. Locked up, he studies the greats. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, Scientology pamphlets, even hypnosis tricks from cellmates. He's small, 5'2", wiry, but his voice, his eyes, they hook you. Paroled in 67 at 32, he begs to stay inside. Prison's all he knows. They cut him loose anyway, and he hits San Francisco like a shark smelling blood. Those years didn't break him. They built him. A con artist with a PhD in human weakness, ready to prey on a world in flux. Spring 67, Haight-Ashbury's blooming. Flower children, free love, acid trips. Manson drifts in, guitar slung over his shoulder, a scruffy Pied Piper with a rap that blends Jesus, jailhouse wisdom, and cosmic jive. The 60s are a buffet of disillusioned kids. Runaways, dropouts, dreamers burned by Vietnam drafts or square parents. Manson sees clay to mold. He starts small. Mary Bruner, a librarian gone rogue, becomes his first disciple. Then Lynette Squeaky Fromm, a redhead with a wild streak. Susan Atkins, a dancer with a dark edge. Patricia Krenwinkel, a quiet typist craving more. They're young, teens to early 20s, mostly women, fragile, searching. Manson offers family, purpose, love with a barbed hook. How's he pull it off? Charisma's the spark. Those eyes, that raspy drawl, but controls the fuel. He's a guru, part preacher, part pimp, spinning tales of enlightenment. You're perfect, he tells them. Society's the lie. He's got no job, no roots, just a rap that sticks. They move south, crashing in Venice, then Topanga Canyon, picking up strays like Charles Tex Watson, a lanky Texan who ditched college for dope, and Leslie Van Houten, a beauty queen turned rebel. By 68, they're at Spawn Ranch, a crumbling movie set in Chatsworth. Dusty trails, old barns, a hideout owned by George Spahn. A blind rancher Manson charms into letting them squat. The family swells, 20, 30, maybe 50 at its peak, a revolving door of drifters. Manson's deliberate. He targets the vulnerable. Girls fleeing abuse, guys dodging the draft. He isolates them. No newspapers, no clocks, just his voice. Food's scarce, dumpster dives, handouts, keeping them weak, dependent. Sex is currency. He sleeps with the women, pairs them off, breaks boundaries. Love is all, he preaches, but it's his love, his rules. He's father, lover, God. Atkins calls him Christ. Krenwinkel says he sees her soul. Deliberate? You bet. Every move tightens his grip, turning individuals into a hive mind buzzing with his will. Zoom out, the 60s set this up. America's cracking. Vietnam's a meat grinder, kids burning draft cards. Civil rights battles leave scars. JFK, MLK, RFK gunned down. The counterculture's a double-edged sword. Peace and love, sure, but also a vacuum for predators. Communes pop up, gurus preach, drugs flow. Manson's no anomaly, he's a symptom, a vulture circling a wounded decade. Haight-Ashbury's utopia sours by 67. Speed freaks and hustlers replace the dreamers. Manson thrives here, a con who's read the room. The Beatles dropped the White Album in 68. He spins Helter Skelter into a prophecy, but more on that later. The point? The era's chaos was his runway. He didn't crash land, he took off. LA's the next act. Hollywood's glitter, a city of stars and shadows. Manson smells fame, a ticket to power. The 60s counterculture isn't just backdrop, it's his toolbox. Free love justifies his orgies. Anti-establishment vibes cloak his rants. Drugs soften resistance. He's not swept up in it. He exploits it, deliberately, a leech on a bleeding generation. Music dreams and broken strings. Manson's got a guitar and a dream. Rock stardom. He's no Lennon, but he's got a raw, eerie sound. Folk tunes laced with menace. Enter Dennis Wilson, Beach Boys drummer, summer 68. Manson's girls hitchhike. Wilson picks them up, and soon the family's crashing at his Sunset Boulevard pad. Wilson's charmed, calls Manson a wizard, records him in a home studio. Songs like Cease to Exist, later Never Learn Not to Love, get airtime, but Manson's pissed. Wilson tweaks the lyrics, cuts him out. Still, it's a foot in the door. Parties, drugs, a brush with the big time. Then Terry Melcher, hotshot producer, Doris Day's son, Columbia Records golden boy. Wilson introduces them. Melcher hears Manson play at Spawn. He's intrigued but passes. No deal. Manson's crushed. This isn't just rejection. It's a gut punch to his ego. Melcher's linked to 150 Cielo Drive, the house he rented before Sharon Tate moved in. Coincidence? Maybe not. Revenge simmers. Neil Young jams with him, digs the vibe, but no contract. The music scene teases Manson with glory, then slams the door. By 69, he's souring. Hollywood's elite become targets in his warped mind. Deliberate? Damn right. Fame denied fuels a fire that'll burn houses down. Drugs, the chains of control. LSD's the key. Manson's not just tripping, he's conducting. At Spawn, acid tests are ritual. He doses the family, stays sober, shapes their highs. Picture it. Campfires, starry nights, 20 kids melting into his words. I am you, he chants, planting seeds, fear, loyalty, visions of doom. Acid's cheap, plentiful, $1 a tab. And he's got suppliers, maybe bikers, maybe dealers like Gary Hinman. Other drugs pile in. Speed keeps them wired, weed dulls the edges. Starvation amps it. Empty stomachs make the hits harder. He's no junkie. He's a chemist, dosing to dominate. Testimonies later spill it. Atkins says LSD made Manson God. Watson nods, calls it programming. Deliberate as hell. He dropped 300 micrograms on them. Watch their egos dissolve, then rebuild them in his image. Sex follows. Group sessions, his orders. Erasing shame, binding them tighter. Drugs aren't chaos. They're his leash. A tool to turn free spirits into puppets. Manson's control is total. Psychology, fear, faith. He's a messiah figure. Bearded, long-haired, quoting Revelation, twisting Beatles lyrics. Helter Skelter becomes gospel. He claims black militants will rise, whites will fall, and the family will rule the ashes. Is it real? Some say no, just paranoia about panthers or bikers he owed. Either way, it works. They buy it. He beats dissenters. Watson breaks a jaw. Atkins takes a fist, but loves the real chain. They worship him. Fromm tries to kill Ford years later, still hooked. Violence escalates. Guns stolen, knives sharpened. He's got parole hanging over him, yet cops barely blink. Raids fizzle. He's sprung fast. Why? Whispers of snitching, deals with feds, unproven, but it stinks. His followers don't question. They carve X's into their foreheads, mirroring his prison X, later a swastika. Deliberate? Every damn day. He's not slipping. He's steering, crafting killers from kids. Summer '69. Manson's unraveling, but it's no accident. Hinman's killed July 25th. Bobby Beausoleil, a family hanger-on, stabs him over a drug debt, writes political piggy in blood. Manson's there, slashes Hinman's ear. Practice for what's coming. August 8th, he sends Watson, Atkins, Krenwinkel, and Van Houten to Cielo Drive. Totally destroy everyone, he says. Leave a sign. Tate's house isn't random. Melcher's old place, a middle finger to music's gatekeepers. August 9th, the La Biancas. No music tie, but a message. Fear everywhere. Helter Skelter's the story sold. Race war, chaos. But dig deeper. Hinman's drug beef, Melcher's snub, Manson's paranoia about bikers or busts. He's settling scores, flexing power, not chasing prophecy. He doesn't kill himself. Stays clean, alibi ready. But he's the brain, deliberate as a sniper. The family obeys, drugged, brainwashed, devoted, carving war on Leno LaBianca, smearing blood like paint. This isn't madness. It's Manson's script. A calculated scream at a world that ignored him. Manson's no fluke. He's a mirror of the '60s rot. A con who turned hope into horror. Early life taught him survival. The family was his lab. Drugs, music, and fear his tools. He didn't snap. He planned, pulling strings until bodies dropped. Was it all Helter Skelter? Maybe not. Revenge, drugs, control fit too well. 8,000 words later, he's not just a killer's guru. He's a warning, a deliberate shadow on a decade that dreamed too big. Next, the crimes. Blood, blades, and the cost. To get why the Manson murders hit like a sledgehammer, we've got to rewind and sink into the 1960s. A decade that was less a golden age and more a raging inferno. This isn't just scene setting. It's the foundation that propped Charles Manson up, a world so fractured it practically begged for a guy like him to slither out of the cracks. The 60s were a collision of hope and havoc, cultural upheaval, social rebellion, political bloodshed. And Manson didn't just stumble into it. He was forged by it. Let's break it down. The war, the riots, the drugs, the dreams, and how they built the perfect stage for a predator. Picture 1960. John F. Kennedy's in the White House, all charisma and Camelot vibes, promising a new frontier. The future feels wide open. Space race, civil rights, a shiny American dream. Then, November 22nd, 1963, Dallas. JFK's head snaps back, and that dream cracks. Lyndon Johnson steps in, pushing big ideas. Civil Rights Act, voting rights, Great Society. But Vietnam's shadow grows. By '65, 200,000 US troops are slogging through jungles. By '68, it's over 500,000. The draft snags kids, 18, 19 years old, shipping them off to die in rice paddies. Back home, it's war, too. Protests explode. Berkeley, Columbia, Kent State. Students torching draft cards, facing down National Guard rifles. TV beams the carnage into homes. Villages burning, body counts ticking up. A generation's faith in the system rots. Race lights another fuse. Martin Luther King Jr.'s marching, preaching nonviolence. Freedom rides, Selma, I Have a Dream. But the winds are brutal. The Civil Rights Act of '64 and Voting Rights Act of '65 pass, yet the South clings to segregation like a lifeline. Malcolm X falls in '65, MLK in '68, Robert Kennedy 2 months later. Assassinations piling up like dominoes. Cities ignite. Watts in '65, 34 dead. Detroit in '67, 43 gone. Newark, Chicago, flames and fury. The Black Panthers take up guns, preaching revolution. Huey Newton, Eldridge Cleaver, a middle finger to white power. J. Edgar Hoover's FBI hits back with COINTELPRO, spying, framing, breaking them down. The nation split wide open. Rich versus poor, black versus white, hawks versus doves. Out of this mess, the counterculture rises. A kaleidoscope of peace signs and tie-dye. A middle finger to suits and squares. San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury is the heart. Hippies preaching free love, dropping acid, living communal. LSD's everywhere. Thanks, Owsley Stanley. And Timothy Leary's mantra, turn on, tune in, drop out. Hooks the restless. Music's the pulse. Beatles go psychedelic. Dylan goes electric. Hendrix sets his guitar ablaze. Woodstock, August '69, is the zenith. 500,000 muddy souls, 3 days of harmony. But the rot's already there. Altamont, December '69. Rolling Stones, Hell's Angels, a fan stabbed dead, turns the flower power dream into a gravestone. Los Angeles is a different animal. Hollywood sparkle meets Skid Row grit. The Sunset Strip's alive. Clubs like Whiskey A Go-Go, wannabes chasing fame. Manson among them with his beat-up guitar. But it's a Shark Tank. Dealers, bikers, con men circling. Spawn Ranch, his family's base, is a faded western set. Dust, dune buggies. A blind old man named George Spahn letting them crash there, charmed by Lynette, Squeaky Fromm. It's not peace and love. It's a festering wound, a hideout for Manson's schemes. Drugs aren't a footnote. They're the glue. LSD fries brains. Speed keeps them buzzing. Weed numbs the edge. Manson's no saintly guru. He's a small-time dealer, his family hooked and owing. Gary Hinman's murder, July '69, kicks it off. Bad mescaline sold to bikers, debts unpaid. Manson slices Hinman's ear. Bobby Beausoleil stabs him dead, scrawls political piggy to dodge the real story. The Tate and LaBianca hits follow. Maybe more drug fallout. Maybe panic. The '60s drug wave wasn't liberation. It was a leash, and Manson yanked it hard. Manson didn't invent this chaos. He wrote it. Vietnam, riots, rebellion left kids adrift. Runaways, dropouts, draft dodgers. He scooped them up, his rap a mix of preacher and pimp. Anti-establishment, apocalyptic, tailored to the times. The Beatles' White Album drops in '68. He spins Helter Skelter into a race war myth. Maybe a con, maybe a spark. The counterculture's big heart, openness, trust. Let him in. He's no anomaly. He's the '60s dark twin. Woodstock fades, Altamont bleeds, Manson strikes. The decade's utopia turns to ash, and he's holding the match.
We've clawed through the Manson murders. Now let's face the wreckage. This isn't about tying a neat ribbon on a horror show. It's about staring down what those nights in August '69 stole and why they still claw at us. Lives ended. Gary Hinman, Sharon Tate, Jay Sebring, Abigail Folger, Wojciech Frykowski, Stephen Parent, Leno and Rosemary LaBianca, real people, not just names, slashed out of existence. But the body count's only the start. The '60s promise, peace, love, a better tomorrow, died screaming on those floors. Manson didn't just kill. He gutted a dream, turned flower crowns into padlocks, left a nation peering through curtains at shadows. Helter Skelter, the race war tale prosecutors sold, wrapped it up nice for the papers. Manson as mad prophet, his family as zealots. But dig deeper: drugs, revenge, a grifter's grudge against Hollywood's locked doors. That fits the man. Petty, vicious, street smart. The wilder stuff: MK Ultra, informant deals, hidden hands, floats out there, less solid but sticky, a itch you can't scratch. Manson checked out in 2017, 83, grinning like he knew something we didn't. His crew: Susan Atkins, dead in '09, Patricia Krenwinkel, Leslie Van Houten, Tex Watson, still caged, face parole boards that keep saying no. Their crimes too raw even now. Why does this stick? It's not the gore, it's the hook. How does a nobody twist kids into butchers? How does freedom flip to feral? Manson's a puzzle, a warning, a cracked mirror of what humans can become. The 60s swung for the stars and crashed. War, riots, drugs, cults. And we're still sifting the debris. The cost? Innocence, trust, a decade's soul. The chaos wasn't random. It was Manson's design, and we're still paying the tab. Keep digging with us. Secrets Unleashed isn't done chasing the truth.